Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and today we're up here at Duelist Den with a very interesting revolver. This is a Rogers and Spencer. Now, this was made by Army San Paulo and imported by Euroarms of America. They've gone out of business and nobody has picked up manufacturing this again, so this is discontinued right now. But we have them by virtue of one of our viewers, Thomas Sullivan, and thank you very much. And today we're going to put a pair of these through their paces. So let's load the Rogers and Spencer. And before I do that, I just want to show you something. The Rogers and Spencer has a lot of characteristics in common with Remingtons and with Whitney revolvers, Spillers and Burr, that sort of thing. So I just want to show you how you take the cylinder out of this, should you need to. Put it on half cock. Of course, that allows it to spin. The cylinder is held in place by a cross bolt that engages a notch in the base pin. So what you have to do is rotate that screw and then you just pull it out. And the Ruger Old Army uses a very, very similar system, except their base pin and loading lever and rammer are not permanently screwed in, so they just fall apart when you take it out. But once you've done that, it's just like a Remington. Push the cylinder out in your hand and you're good to go. To put it back in, I'm going to show you a trick, and this is the same thing for Remington, so even if you don't have one of these but you've got a Remington, it's important to know. Right here, a little piece sticking out is called the hand, and that is what rotates the cylinder. So on half cock, that hand is in the way of getting the cylinder through. And a lot of people don't know what to do at that point, and they get pretty frustrated with Remingtons or with these guys. And it's very simple. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to make a clockwise turn while I'm pushing. As you can see, this piece here moves the hand out of the way and allows me to get the cylinder in. And at that point, all I need to do is re-engage the base pin. All right. Now, I'm going to just take my thumbnail. I'm going to rotate that. Oops, you got to get this right. These guys can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so there we go. Now, base pin is locked in place. It's not going to go anywhere. The cylinder is back in the gun, and we're good to go. So if you need to take it out, that's how to do it. All right, the loading process on a Rogers and Spencer is just like most any cap and ball revolver. We're going to place it on half cock. Allows the cylinder to rotate freely. I'm going to be loading it with 3F powder, 30 grains, which this flask has a measure that throws that. On top of the powder, I'm going to put this lubricated felt wad. Now I've got to tell you, a lot of people think that flashover and chain fires occurs if you don't lube the top of the bullet or use a felt wad or something like that. And that is not the case as long as the bullet or ball is properly sized. So if you're shaving off a ring of lead, there is no way a spark is getting past that bullet. Most chain fires actually occur from the back because a cap has fallen off a nipple and has exposed it to fire that flashes over between the chambers. So what this lubed wad does actually is lubricate the fouling in the barrel so that it stays soft. Otherwise, it bakes on really hard and your accuracy would pretty much disappear after about 10 shots. So that's the real purpose of this. And if you don't have a wad, you can put grease over the chamber mouth. They both work. Wads are just a little bit neater. So we will just get started here. I'm going to drop 30 grains of powder. Put that in. Top it with a wad. Just get that started. So as I said, this is a 4.454 inch hand cast ball. And we'll just put that over there, rotate it under the rammer, and we'll seat it. Now, I'm going to do that 5 times. I'm going to leave one chamber empty for safety, and then we'll go shoot them. Well, Evil Roy and his henchmen, Circle Sam and Steel Steve, are up to their old tricks attacking the homestead. So it's time to take the Rogers and Spencer and put them in their place. If we really were in the 19th century West, our odds of running into an actual Rogers and Spencer gun, almost non-existent. These guns were produced right at the end of the Civil War. They made 5,800 of them, and only 800 of them actually went to the civilian market. From 1965 until 1901, all the Rogers and Spencer guns, 5,000 of them, actually sat in a government warehouse, probably right next to the box that held the Ark of the Covenant. And then in 1901, they were sold at a surplus sale, and they were bought by George Bannerman. Then for decades, Bannerman sold these Rogers and Spencer's pistols out of his Army and Navy store and through his surplus weapons catalog. And really, you would not have seen these things until the 20th century. So they're not really cowboy guns. But for the sake of maintaining the fantasy, we'll just pretend that we've got one of those rare 800 that made it out into the civilian sector to play with today. Well, I think overall Remington shooters will be pretty comfortable with the Rogers and Spencer. Just like the Remington, it has a top strap, solid frame, and it's got a milled rear sight. It's got a brass cone front sight, a little more like a Colt, but I mean, it's definitely much more like a Remington in terms of its function. As I said before, it's got a non-Remington type base pin catch, much more like a Whitney or a Spiller and Burr, and the loading lever is exactly like a Whitney or Spiller and Burr. The lock work is somewhat different. I mean, disassembling this is a bit of a different game. However, that said, I think anybody who likes Remingtons will like this, and actually I've got about 25 rounds through this right now, and it's just starting to get the littlest bit sticky. So I'm going to keep shooting it and see if we ever run into any problems, but so far it handles fouling better than a Remington does. Well, let's give poor old Evil Roy a break and see how the Rogers and Spencer will do against some 2-liter water bottles. Well, I got 2 for 1 on that one. I'll take it. Well, let's give it a try with some 1-liter bottles this time. Could have been better, but at least I hit them. Well, let's see what these 44 caliber balls can do on a can of shaving cream. Well, let's finish up with the bad guy's view of the Rogers & Spencer revolver.